Eddie Garcia, Chief of Police, San Jose Police Department. Joining the San Jose Police Department in February of 1992, Officer Garcia began his meteoric rise in the patrol division, and due to his relentless work ethic, he quickly moved through the ranks. On March 1st, 2016, Eddie was confirmed in his current position as Chief of Police. Under his command, Chief Garcia has brought real change to the city of San Jose, making the department's use of force data available to the public. He's implemented numerous initiatives aimed at building community trust, increasing transparency, improving accountability, and embracing fair and impartial constitutional policies. Police are now trained on procedural justice and implicit bias. Because of his deep concern for people, the Police Chief's Community Advisory Board is expanding with a life skills program aimed at elementary school students. Not to mention his Coffee with a Cop events, where he is eager to meet, up close and personal, one-on-one with ordinary people in the community. This has earned him an NAACP award from the San Jose Silicon Valley branch for visibility and accessibility in our city neighborhoods. Everyone, let's give a warm round of applause for Police Chief Eddie Garcia.
It's an honor to be here today. Thank you. And it's going to be, Dr. Bauer's going to be tough to follow your presentation, so I'm going to do my best. But, normally when I talk about these things, I like to talk a little bit of my background and experience that kind of led me to the career that we're doing, because it actually helps me, I think, be the leader that I am today and what we're trying to do. I was born in San Juan, Puerto Rico. I moved to San Jose at a very young age. I didn't know a lick of English when we got here. And it's funny because my mom, she's kind of mean still. She still makes fun of me to this day as I was talking gibberish in the playgrounds with kids, and she'll laugh about it. What's funny is that my mom has the heaviest accent that back then in this mid-70s as she does today. So I give it back to her a little bit, but I love her. We moved here, lived with some cousins. I think there was about 8 people living in a condo near Morrill in Coropoli in North San Jose. I had a sister that was a little older. She knew a little bit of English because she went to a Catholic school in Puerto Rico. But we eventually learned English. Attended schools in the Bay Area area, San Jose. It was interesting one day, and I said this when I was confirmed chief a few years ago, that, one of the teachers, my mom went to go talk to one of the teachers asking how the kids were doing in school. And one of the teachers told my mom, they'll never be at the top of their class, but they'll be okay. So it's funny because I told my mom the day when I got confirmed that, Mom, I think we made it to the top of the class. So it was pretty cool. So you fast forward to 8th grade. I went to St. Victor School in San Jose. That summer about to start high school. And my dad took off to work. My father, I'll say this, my father took off to work one day. He was a truck driver, and he never came back. We lost our home. I'll never forget. Sometimes I get emotional when I talk about this part, but I've said it a few times, so hopefully I'll get through it. So I'll never forget. My mom and I were living in hotels for a few days until she was able to put things together. But I'll never forget walking behind her as we were going to one of the hotels we were staying at one night. And true Puerto Rican mom, loved her kids, walking in front, and she had an iron in her hand. Because you know what? We didn't have a house, but there was no way her kids were going to school in wrinkled clothes. And she was awesome. It's funny because I always I talk about my father being a father, because as I talk to people every once in a while, everybody can be a father, not everybody can be a dad. So I was raised by a single mom, put me through high school. She worked as a maid. She worked at Burger King for a while. So slept on a couch, on a floor when her back hurt. Sacrificed a lot for my sister and I. She is both to me, mom and dad. And she's the individual. She's my hero. So after high school, I went to De Anza, played baseball for a couple years. But seeing my mom's work and not seeming to have any direction with me, what I was going, it was time to hang up the cleats and become a man. Honestly, I was attracted to police work, for the excitement. I'm not going to lie. All right? I was a 21-year-old kid when I applied in 1991. And that and the fact of a very strict upbringing. I mean, my mom's a cute little thing. But when I was wrong, man, she was strong. You know what? I thank God every day that she kept me on the right path. Every day. Because of that, I was able to become a police officer at a very young age. I was 21 years old. Now, why is it important to me to tell you this background? Because it's what shaped my career. You know, the decisions I make and the pride that I have, and the leader that I have to be. Not only to the men and women who proudly wear our uniform, but for my community. You know, that entrusts me to provide proactive public safety and justice, but to dispense that justice in a fair and impartial way. You know, I was hired in 1992 by the San Jose PD Academy, graduated as a 21-year-old, hit the streets. I'm in my 27th year now with the San Jose PD, and I've seen a lot. You know, let me tell you quickly what I experienced as a 21-year-old cop. It was a tale of two stops. So why, I would ask myself as a 21-year-old, I go to certain parts of the city of San Jose and I have interactions with certain individuals. And in one part of San Jose, I feel that it's yes, sir, no, sir, what can I do for you, sir? I'm sorry, sir. And in some other parts of San Jose, it'll be, why are you stopping me? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Well, as a 21-year-old kid, you drive off of that situation wondering, okay, why does one certain group treat with what I feel is respect, and why is it another group I perceive that they don't treat us with respect? Well, here's the problem. The problem is the academy is over 6 months long. They teach us a lot. What they don't teach us is the dark side of American law enforcement. Okay? And I've started referring this as a good Catholic, I've started referring to this as we are born into this profession with original sin. See, the badge that I wear so proud hasn't always shined so brightly. Law enforcement, and we have to be accountable for this, has been responsible for some awful things in history. Now, I'm not talking about single officers doing terrible things. I'm talking about an ingrained and systemic culture in certain parts of our country's history. And we have to accept our past and not rationalize it away. You know, it's the only way we're going to grow. Now, let's go back to that 21-year-old kid that's on patrol, who's got a good heart, who's honorable, who's noble, like most. And I will tell you this, and I'll tell you this today, I would die for my community. Without knowing the negative history of what the badge represents to some of our communities, how could I fully understand my perceived lack of respect or trust? I can tell you, regardless of the encounter, it would have led to a better understanding of why we are viewed untrustworthy by some. You know, the uniform that we wear is not an automatic trust me costume. You know, that right has to be earned. You know, now before some of you think that maybe I'm some admin cop, and when I tell this to my men and women that I'm someone that's not done the job and I'm speaking this, you know, understanding police culture, but sometimes officers who resist change will rationalize my comments as coming from someone who's never done the job. Well, let me give you a little bit of my job history before becoming chief. I like to consider myself as a very proactive midnight patrol officer. I worked on the narcotics enforcement team. I was on our SWAT team. We did fugitive apprehension. We did street-level narcotics. Yes, I have bought drugs undercover. I was a night detective. I was a homicide investigator. I was a vice commander. I was a criminal intelligence commander, and I was a bureau chief of investigations. I've put away some very bad people. And I've interviewed homicide suspects who, less than 4 feet away from me, have explained how they committed their crimes. Arrested murder suspects after robbing and killing individuals. I've arrested drug dealers only to have to take their kids to our shelter because no one would care for them. And more individuals whose actions I cannot forget. I know that evil exists in this world and the harm that people do to each other. And to my very core, it's the responsibility of every man and woman that wears the uniform to work tirelessly so that everyone has the ability to live out their dreams. Regardless who you are, what you look like or where you live. But this diligence must be undertaken responsibly. And it must be fair to our entire community. And it must be done constitutionally, or trust is lost. So I'm entrusted with keeping San Jose safe. Yes, we need officers. We're rising after years of staffing issues, and I have amazing officers. But I also need to build on the foundations of procedural justice, especially in our most vulnerable neighborhoods and communities of color, where oftentimes violent crime is high. It's in these communities where past mistakes have cost us trust. And without trust, we would lose those communities. And I simply can't have that. It's not solely about just having officers. Without community support, it's virtually impossible to police a city. And you see that across the country. We need to see ourselves as partners. Decades of research and practice, support the premise that people are more likely to obey the law when they believe that those who are enforcing it have the legitimate authority to tell them what to do. But the public confers legitimacy only to those whom they believe are acting in procedurally just ways. There's 4 basic principles, right? It's treating people with dignity and respect. It's giving people a voice during encounters. It's being neutral and transparent in decision-making, and it's conveying trustworthy motives. I think it appropriate, and I often say this at community meetings, that we lose a simple part of, trusting each other, and we lose a simple part of communication. And I always use, Dr. Martin Luther King's quote that men hate each other because they fear each other. And they fear each other because they don't know each other. And they don't know each other because they don't talk. All across the country, we've seen federal reforms. But if we aren't willing to talk to each other, they're simply not going to work. You take Baltimore, for example, a city with serious trust issues, and with their police, in a department where reforms have been demanded. But taken from an NPR audio in Baltimore, where recently there was, the murder rate is very high, there was a reverend by the name of Kenji Scott, a pastor and strong advocate of police reform who held various positions in local government. It was asked if in 3 years after Ferguson and Michael Brown that the reforms in major cities in the country are working. He said, and I quote, that the goals have been, and what President Obama wanted to focus on with reforms, was the building of better relationships with the police in major cities where there has been a history of conflict. That has not happened. We don't see that. I don't know of a city that I've heard of, Baltimore for certain, where it's working. We have not seen changes in those relationships. What we have seen is the police have distanced themselves, and the community has distanced themselves even further. The divide has intensified, not decreased. We want to delineate the culture of bad policing that exists. No one denies that. But as a result of this, we don't see the level of policing we need in our communities to keep crime down. Reforms aren't the panacea. It must be coupled with relationship building, the platforms of mutual respect. I had the honor of attending. I attend major city chiefs conferences. I'm looking at the pastor, at major city chiefs conferences throughout the country, and I was at one in Washington, D.C., where we had the privilege of listening to Vice President Biden speak to the chiefs. And really, Vice President Biden, everything you see him on TV, he in real life, he seems that guy. He's that guy that you just hang out with and have a beer with, and he seems like a good dude. And he told us, and this was in the heart of the crisis that the country was in. It was probably not too long after Ferguson. And he looked at us and he goes, I need you guys to fix this thing. And he said it just like that. And he says, you know what? We need to do 2 things. And this is what I say, and he told us to fix it. And when I talk to people, what the goal really is the goal is for my officers to see an individual who's driving home late at night and not immediately think someone's doing something wrong. Okay, how about until that appears itself, it's someone who's coming home after working 2 or 3 jobs. It's someone who's just trying to put food on the table. Okay, let's look at it from that perspective first. Now, it goes both ways, right? Because what I want the community to see in the police officer that's patrolling their neighborhood at midnight is a dad or a wife or a sister or a brother who worked the night before from 9 o'clock at night to 7 in the morning, who slept till noon, who woke up, picked up kids from school, went to Coach Pop Warner football practice, made dinner for the family, kissed them goodnight, and went back to work. That's where the mutual respect, and that's what we need to get down to, see each other as humans, okay? And so that's really important. So in many cities, it takes crisis, intense community pressure, or federal intervention to make significant improvements in policing. In San Jose, we have not had a crisis or federal intervention, but yet we have chosen to work continuously to make meaningful changes to improve treatment and trust of our community. I firmly believe this. You cannot operate in times of crisis. You cannot. And so the time to move forward, to make reforms, to make initiatives is when things are calm. If you look, what's going on, God bless the people in North Carolina, they weren't preparing, they couldn't prepare when it hit. They had to prepare before. And some of these things are simply better ways of increasing procedural justice for all we serve, and for all we serve. But a rising tide lifts all ships. So, some of the things that we've done religious exemptions. I'm going to go through some of the policies we've done. We've done religious exemptions to our grooming standards. I don't want our officers to leave who they are at the door when they walk in. Ever since I was a lieutenant, I was given the Puerto Rican flag when I was a lieutenant. And that Puerto Rican flag has probably been in like 7 offices. And I've taken pictures in front of it, and I am proud to have that flag in my office. And so I don't want officers to leave who they are at the door when they're here. We've come up with head strike policies. We have new tactics on force. We've bifurcated our officer-involved shooting investigations, meaning if an officer gets an officer-involved shooting and he's criminally cleared, I can go back and look at how the tactics they used and then hold them accountable for that. We have a new use of force committee. Our district attorney's office co-investigates all of our shootings. We have a timely officer-involved shooting review panel. We have to mandatorily wear an activation of our body-worn cameras. We have mandatory wearing of our tasers. We told officers in our schools this last year, stop being the dean and let the schools be the deans. Okay, we've got intervention programs in schools. We really stopped dealing with administrative issues and let the schools do that. We don't enforce school discipline. We have a new school campus MOU in our policies. We have a policy for encounters with people who had limited English proficiency, and we do much more cultural diversity training. From data analysis and transparency, we contracted with the University of Texas El Paso to analyze our detention data and traffic stop information, and we made this information public. We implemented our use of force, as you saw, system and made that public. We've changed our report writing practices so that supervisors need to review and approve all police reports. From a training perspective, we do our crisis intervention training because we're dealing with our mentally ill. So I've mandated that the entire department go through that training. We do procedural justice. We have done it throughout the department, but we do it in the academies. We go through de-escalation training up and beyond what the peace officers standing in training says to do. We have fair and impartial policing, recognizing implicit bias and how it affects our actions. From a community engagement perspective, we now have year-long shift changes, which requires officers to work in the same neighborhoods longer. What a thought. We expanded our Chiefs Advisory Committee. We established an LGBTQ advisory committee in a groundbreaking recruiting campaign. We partnered with businesses and homeless service agencies to provide homeless residents with care packs, providing an opportunity for positive interaction with officers. We've continued with our Team Kids, a life skills program at our elementary schools. We launched Coffee with a Cop throughout the city, and actually next week I'm going to do a boba with a cop. I have not had boba yet, and next week will be my first time to do that. A recruiting campaign, there's nothing better than diversity in an organization. And I tell you, we're going to grow, but we're going to grow the right way. And if you see, I know it's been evidenced in some of the media when it goes to our academies, but our academies have just been beautifully diverse. I'm not going to tell you that it hasn't been hard work, right? But it's interesting to me when people claim that they don't have diversity. Diversity is not going to come knocking on your door. You need to go find it. So to me, that's always a cop-out when I hear this. Go find it. Okay, we've got a big country. Go find it. So my recruiters go. We've been very, very active throughout the country, and it shows in our recruiting numbers. So of all the things that we've done, that I explained and you saw, I mean, that's kind of a lot for a department that's not being mandated to do things. But you know what? It's not enough. It's never enough. It's never enough. We're moving forward with other things that we're doing. We're launching a platform with My90 that can receive anonymous community feedback to our police department. We've partnered with the Silicon Valley Community Foundation, hosting large community meetings throughout our city. I really, truly believe it's not just dealing with individual community groups, it's actually going into my neighborhoods. It's sitting next to the mom who's taking her kids to school the next day. It's sitting next to the business owner. It's going into the neighborhoods. We've created a partnership with our San Jose Police Foundation. We've created a scholarship program, which we use to help build bridges with our communities for our kids and neighborhoods. And I'm kind of proud of this one, but in a few weeks, we're going to have the San Jose PD ice cream truck. That, you know what, I mean, I can't wait. Pastor Jason laughing, but it's going to be awesome. I'm pumped for it. Often, questions are asked, how does it enhance our culture? Well, I can guarantee you, I tell all my officers and everybody that wants to take a promotional test that they don't just need to know the principles of 21st century policing, they better be practicing them. And they better be showing that to their officers. The officers believe. We're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. We're an imperfect profession. But there's so many ideas coming from our officers. We're going to make mistakes. I've set the bar high for our officers, and everything that we've achieved is because they embrace. I can stand up here and tell you all day long of all the great things we're doing, but if my officers don't believe, it doesn't mean a thing. So they're working very hard, and we'll get better. I really truly say this, together we're safer, together we're stronger. So God bless you all. God bless the men and women of the San Jose Police Department. Thank you.